and Shock with an opening win. But regardless, Corelli, it has to come in the early game. For Renegades, they have to get out ahead of NRG. We've seen NRG fall behind before. Yes, it was the first game jitters, but in general, this one might come down to the demos. That's where I'm keeping my eye.
That's certainly going to be a big part of it. And for NRG, a team that's been so reliant on the counterattacks, when you take away some of those players on the defensive side, that's when space opens up. See if Renegades can take advantage. We get things kicked off here in game one.
Well, it's day 2 of the Winter Major. Hope you're strapped in. We are as well. Let's get onto the action underway early on towards the corner. But for Renegades, I think the key to victory going into this series, 1, get physical with NRG, but also watch for those infield passes. Squishy can be a demon towards the backboard.
Furia also was able to take advantage of a lot of the kickoffs here against NRG yesterday. A little trickery with the fake kickoffs really threw off NRG. They got a couple goals off of that. And for Renegades here, they've got to get the offense going quickly. We always talk about regions like OC. They have to come out swinging against giants like NRG. Here today, I think there's a lot of people who look at Renegades to do that here as a good shot here as Justin's going to put it away.
I mean, that dictation of pace right up towards the corner, that's an easy pass out for Squishy. And we talked about his presence towards the backboard. You have to shut him down early. If you don't, Justin will be in a position to capitalize, slots in that middle lane. NRG up early on.
And they do it quickly here for NRG. A crucial start to what is a team that is very slow in groups. We saw it in so many domestic regionals. They have to have a good first game. And for NRG here, a good first 45 seconds.
You gotta take challenges and those quick 50s as often as they do come for Renegades, but a bit of a traffic jam into the corner, so we'll slow the play down for the moment. Kicking it back out, it's Kami trying to get up the wall, but Garrett G cuts it off immediately, and now pressure for NRG once again into the orange half, but back to midfield we do go with 3 minutes to play here in game number 1. Squishy looking for Garrett G, he will find the connection.
Good challenge there at the top of the box, but here comes Garrett. Trying to keep the pressure on here is NRG. See Renegades, good job of getting this one out. Fever, that's a great demo on Squishy. Forces NRG to get back as Garrett was the one into the corner to have to make the play. Now Justin off the ceiling, there's gonna be no follow-up. And Renegades working from their own corner.
Looking at Garrett moving upfield very hesitantly with very little boost to burn, but regardless, the presence of mind to at least get in action on the play. That demo could certainly open up a swing, but yet a little bit timid at the midfield line. Corelli, Renegades taking some of the hits from NRG early on, but not really establishing much on the offensive end.
And you talked about the demos here before we got into game. Fever now 2 in the last 30 seconds. Is a good touch here from Fever. Here comes the shot from Kami, and Renegades on the board.
Sometimes the ball just bounces your way, and you need to be in a position to at least capitalize on a touch like this. It's Fever who opens it up, and Kami with the connection, securing it. Nicely done on the rotation. Renegades wasting very little time and almost no expense. They tie up our game 1.
And you really got to take it to NRG, and I like what Fever did, bringing that ball down, finding the control, forcing NRG to come to them. Otherwise, he's going to eat up that space on the ball and put a shot on target, and NRG, we're not ready for what comes next. Renegades doing a great job here of fighting back.
I mean, how dangerous a space game could be for Renegades if they find those gaps. And what do we mean by gaps? We mean opportunity for passes. The infield has been all of NRG's, but these short touches have been Renegades towards the sidewall. Now you're looking for Justin and the extension. Garrett G will get it back towards midfield with an extra little touch. Squishy thinking twice about the extension. Through the corner we go. NRG keep the pressure alive.
NRG not able to make this one as threatening as it could have been. That's not the best touch. To go in a pinch was not what Renegades wanted. It's back in Squishy's hand. He's trying to drop it off to Justin, and he might just find him as he goes into the corner. Another touch here. Looking for Garrett. He's there. Another one off the back wall. Squishy waiting for him to come, but he went all the way back as Renegades are able to get out.
I mean, it's these high touches for NRG that should start to scare you if you're Renegades. Not a lot of contest towards the backboard. Finally, CJ does get into position, but with no boost, he's going to be the third man back as goalie. So if you know this as NRG, you take advantage of the gaps, and more importantly, that demo starts to open it up. It's Garrett with a free goal. NRG with the lead right back.
And who was that on the goal line for Renegades? Just a huge whiff from Kami there. Not able to get the touch. And an open net for Garrett G. You know NRG is going to take advantage of that.
All smiles in the face cams, all leads back to the general. A minute 59 to play here in game 1 of this best of 5. Renegades did so well with the early pressure, but when it came down to mitigating those responses at midfield, they very much struggled to control the possession. Now, NRG back into the corner yet again.
See if we get CJ going here. We really haven't called his name. He's really been picking up the defensive side of things. 3 saves so far. And Renegades are better for it, but they're down by 1. And here comes Justin. A flip resets Shirley inbound, and he will get it. It'll be on target, and he beats the defense. NRG up by 2.
I mean, those might be those small mistakes you can't make on the defensive end, but you give a tip of the cap to Justin for this hold, the reset, and the fake, just in case. Holds it long enough. Renegades bit a little bit too much.
And I could hear Justin letting out a woo as he put that one away. And NRG, I think the vibes definitely better here today. I think they were stunned against Furia, and they looked very confident, very calm in this game. And that's when NRG is at their most dangerous. The for fun meta is what we talked about so much here today and yesterday. And I think NRG are one of the biggest beneficiaries of that type of meta.
Well, Corelli, we've had this conversation before about NRG, where they've started slow in tournaments. They've started slow on major weekends. Is it another factor here this week where just the first couple of days they're trying to get the rhythm of the event under their belt, regardless of how much veteran presence they do have on the squad?
And regardless of who they play, too, it doesn't really seem to matter who they play. NRG, they really have to get into these series. They really have to get into these events. And then they come alive. The general surely will show itself. But right now, they are sitting up by 2. 45 seconds left here in game 1.
Circling around the midfield. A couple of players do collide for Renegades, but cut off yet again. NRG finding quick little pokes to disrupt the flow. Renegades don't have much. One more off the backboard might be good for a 4th goal for General in game number 1, but it might be all she wrote early on. 26 seconds to go. Still plenty of time and plenty of games to play through in this series, but it just seems that the General have had the number of Renegades in this first game.
And again, I know I pointed out this earlier. You talked about demos, and I think you hit the nail on the head, but where have they been in the back half here for Renegades? Because I think Fever was doing a great job of creating space with those demos early on, and then they've just completely gone away. The play style has changed, and NRG have just locked you down. If you're Renegades, they're not able to get out.
With one final push downfield, we'll call it a doggy bag goal if it goes in. Regardless, the General NRG take game number 1 against Renegades. It was a pretty convincing win near the end. Around the 2-minute mark, they really turned on the afterburners, and it just seemed that pressure towards the backboard. Renegades had no answer.
Yeah, and that is the key here. Renegades, they have to have an answer. They have to fight back here, and they do put away 1 goal, but realistically, after that first goal, you didn't see much from Renegades. It was all NRG on offense and a lot of defense coming up from Renegades.
426 in the score column for Justin, but we can't not go unanswered what Squishy was able to do, getting a presence upfield, constantly facilitating for the rest of the team. The General took what they were given. They made the most out of it, and you look at just the split down the column: score, goals, assists, ball touches, basically all to the General.
And that's the MO for NRG, is they'll take what you give them, and they'll make the best of it in a lot of cases. And that's really how the play style comes together, is they capitalize on mistakes, and they don't, it's not that they don't generate their own opportunities, but they will definitely take advantage of the space given, the ball flicking out in front of the midfield, and Squishy's been eating that up, as you said. So for NRG, you know, right now, today, they've looked a lot better, a lot more in control, but it's only game 1.
And if the pendulum has to swing back to Renegades POV, which we will do so in a moment, we have to talk about how this series is less than standard for them. This is entirely malleable, how they can approach the General, knowing their tendencies early on, being one of the best teams in the world. Surely they have prepped and planned for some of these engagements upfield. It just seems that maybe it takes a game or 2 to get going.
It's tough to prep for a team like NRG because of how defensive they are. You could have one of the best offenses in the world, and it's tough to break NRG. But as we said, you know, CJ, I look to him to be that guy to really at least start cracking away at the defense of NRG with the long-range shots or the close-range shots. Doesn't really matter. But NRG, they have to be tested defensively. And you can see a couple players there from Renegades chasing the NRG side to try and get some demo plays going, but NRG able to escape.
What might have stunted NRG yesterday was the low amount of shots they were able to get in their first series. Corelli, looking at them so far in this game, have you been seeing those hesitations on the offensive end, or are they just taking what they're given?
Yeah, the latter. Definitely taking what they're given, and you're absolutely right. They were outshot 29-43 against Furia. Furia were all over them. They were playing at Furia's pace, not NRG's pace. But I think NRG have definitely got a clamp here after this first game. And it's up to Renegades to really make a difference here.
I'd have to take it towards the sky, and we'll see how this one plays out early on. A big 50 win yet again on the defensive end. NRG will get themselves back to midfield, but not before cut down by Fever. And yet more extra numbers here for Renegades. So nobody's ball before Garrett takes the call instead. A little hesitation. Oh, Garrett, you cheeky boy. 1-0 lead for General.
And CJ surely not happy with that challenge. A little backflip as he whipped around. He got bumped, actually. That's what happened, is he got bumped. He didn't backflip. And Garrett will take advantage of it. NRG on the board, and they're 1-0 in the lead.
Well, you talk about the defensive general. You could also talk about the defensive Renegades. It's been pretty good so far in this series, but they haven't had the offense on the other side of the coin to be able to match up with a lot of these shot attempts from NRG. Garrett yet again off the kickoff, but cut down. Renegades trying to play it through the corner with a bit of boost to burn here. Won't be able to grab the full as Fever gets out to midfield.
Renegades, they have not done a good job now of breaking out. And NRG, you can really see they circle around the corners and they make it tough for Renegades to break out. And right now it's just been a small clears down the field and down the sideline. That's all that NRG has really given to him. Here's a good touch from Garrett. Another one off the back wall. CJ comes through and saves the day. Garrett wanted to wind up and take a shot. CJ with a good pinch, and that'll buy some time here for Renegades.
These small touches from Renegades that cut into the lane of General are very, very dangerous, because NRG are in a position to at least grab the offensive rebound, get back out for a shot, and if that is the case, it's going to be a 2-0 game very quickly. But as this one bounces around and careens its way back to midfield, right over CJ's head, diving save from Cammy, and he'll keep that one out. It's still a 1-goal lead, but they'll take that over 2.
And they'll take that clear, but it's right back into their box. Garrett trying to find Justin. He's going to drop it down. Here comes Garrett. He'll bounce it over, and NRG 2 up.
We talk about the offensive rebounds. Garrett flying upfield, but Justin sets it up perfectly. The slow roller around the rim, and Garrett G does what he does best. It's a 2-0 lead. Plenty of time here on Forbidden Temple. But Corelli, things have to start turning around for Renegades.
And it's tough. It's really tough to shut down Justin playing point man downfield like that, because you know NRG can toss up any ball to him, and he's going to be the first one there. So for Renegades, again, we go back to the physical play. I think it really does wonders, but it's tough when you're actually feeling so much offense here from NRG. They have done a great job of controlling the ball off the sidewall, as you can see there from Justin. And even on the initial clear, it's still dangerous for NRG as it's 3-0 up.
I mean, this is Justin getting a demo through the corner. Squishy falls back in rotation and immediately picks up the read, bounces it off the ceiling. We'll count that as this is a Harlem Globetrotter attempt. And NRG take the most of it yet again. And that's the scary thing. They're not having to work overtime for a lot of these goals. They just find the right window of opportunity, and Renegades have yet to been able to respond.
It's just quality challenge after quality challenge from NRG, and Renegades falling further and further behind on the play, and eventually that ball's just going to bounce towards your net. NRG's there to crash the net. Squishy getting his first here in the series as NRG marching to victory here in Game 2.
Still plenty of time for Renegades to at least get something on the board. So far, 1 goal in this series. Not a lot happening on the offensive end. Kami trying to work through the corner. Cut down yet again by the General. We'll boom this one to the other side. Adjacently, you have Squishy working in tandem with Garrett. Justin Curley sitting in goal. A slow roller around the bend, but nicely handled and easily taken away. The General back to midfield.
That's a double demo from Justin, and here's some space for Garrett. Open net. NRG puts away their 4th.
That counterattack is lethal, and it's been hiding all game. Finally, it comes out, and the full moon for NRG is once again present.
That's his 3rd. A hat trick here for Garrett as NRG, like I said, they're marching to victory and they're dismantling Renegades right now. We talked about what Renegades had to do, but it goes all out the window when NRG starts playing like this, and it's very tough to compete defensively. They're so strong. Players bunched up in front of the net. It is so hard to break through NRG. And you look at the offense here today, very, very organized from the General.
Well, the conversation really became around the General's slow performance yesterday, but fans, you can put some of those worries to bed right now, as the General have not looked like they're playing above average. They're playing essentially just NRG Rocket League, and it's been working. They haven't had to work overtime. Nothing extraordinary except for what Squishy was just able to do. But with 48 seconds to go, I mean, this is clean, concise, quality Rocket League from NRG.
Yeah, a couple of great plays from NRG, but like you said, I mean, I don't even think this is final form right now. And for Renegades, just really haven't had the possession, haven't had the control that maybe someone might have expected. 30 seconds left on the clock here in Game 2, and NRG just waiting for Renegades to try and test them downfield.
It's such a frustrating player to play against. Garrett G immediately catching the read, as it looked like Renegades were going to bring that one back down to the turf, but even with that, all this time goes to nothing. 4-0. Game 2 might end on that scoreline alone. If Garrett puts another one in, it's a tough regain, but for Renegades, you're not out of the series by any stretch, but it's going to take a hard regain and a quick reset if they want to get back in this.
Only 2 shots from Renegades. I mean, just to put that in perspective, CJ alone on this team is averaging 3.4 per game coming into this Winter Major. Of course, those are domestic stats. 65% goal participation for him as well. They've only been able to score 1 goal in Game 1, and it was Kami and Fever to combine. So for Renegades, everything going wrong at the moment. And NRG, as we've been alluding to, it's not that necessarily everything is going right. They're just playing the NRG Rocket League, and they quickly dismantle anyone in front of them.
Corelli, it's been very apparent that NRG have had much more of a presence at the midfield line. Now, granted, their aggression has paid off because of it. They've been able to intercept a lot of what Renegades have thrown up to them, but what is the key for Renegades? Is it as simple as getting back to midfield and contesting more with NRG on those one-on-one plays? How do they get themselves back in this game with such little shots to boot?
Well, it's two things. One, it's the challenge game. NRG's been just owning that over Renegades right now. But two, it's bringing that ball down and finding possession as well. A lot of times I think Renegades starts to panic on defense, and when they want to break out, why not a clear downfield? But a lot of times NRG's predicting that. Squishy is sitting so far back. How many times did we see Renegades boom the ball downfield and Squishy's on the back line of NRG's side? He's ready for it. He knew it was coming. He's read that page and he's turned it already. And Renegades just seem to be a step behind right now against NRG.
If there was one play that was somewhat indicative of how this series has gone, I believe it was last game near the end when Kami caught the ball, brought it back down to the ground, was able to catch it and hold it, and Squishy comes up from the third man and just takes it away. Those are the types of plays that establishment of dominance from NRG early on, saying, we don't care where you are on the field, we're going to challenge and get possession right back. It's so frustrating for Renegades, but they're not out of it just yet. They're not out of it by any stretch. CJ opens it up for the first time.
CJ getting on the board here for Renegades, and they're finally showing that offense. Just quicker to the ball here. Garrett not able to get the read in the first 6 seconds. Renegades on the board first. And what's funny, Spaceman, is I was about to say, as soon as you were going to finish your point, what KCP did so well against teams like Dignitas and Space Station, granted they lost the series, but they made them very close, is they were able to get quick goals off the kickoff. They were able to get quick goals in the middle, in the beginning of the games, and it put the opposition on the back foot, saying, hey, now you have to catch up to me.
Yeah, it's inherently easier to work ahead once you have something to show for it. So far, Renegades are reading it quite nice, but Squishy on the breakaway. See ya! Squishy puts it through for a tie game.
And the response coming out from the general, and that's a great clear over to Squishy with space and nobody there to challenge. I mean, of course, the last defender's there, but not going in time, and you know Squishy's going to take you down if you give him time and space to think about it, and NRG able to tie it up.
Well, if you're Renegades, you got a goal, you give a goal. Now, you get back to midfield, continue to play 0-0 Rocket League, or 1-1, if that's what you prefer. 4:20 still to go in this one. A couple of jump changes on the clock, but here we go. Justin with possession, trying to work it through the corner. As CJ will slow it back down to the ground. Garrett with an extra challenge and full boost, so you expect the presence of the offense from NRG to continue past midfield like it has with these challenges, and they're going to continue to force Renegades to get a booming clear.
A lot of good work from Justin here in this series. Being a playmaker for NRG, setting up his teammates. You think back to the point man play where he just picked it up. Here comes Squishy. He'll just put it away. He doesn't need anyone else. He'll take a shot. And is that a smile from Squishy Muffins? I think so.
This is my ball, and I shall name it Squishy. Look how far it goes into the corner. Oh, my word, NRG. Welcome to day 2. How you enjoying LA?
They're looking good. And I think a lot of NRG fans are breathing a sigh of relief because when you look at their game against Furia really took it to them, and Renegades is that type of team that could also do that type of damage. But NRG, Squishy, on a different level right now. They're up 2-1.
I mean, even with that backflip from Fever towards the sidewall, you can just start to see the nerves and the frustration setting in for Renegades. A lot of missed touches, a lot of missed opportunities. You can turn it around with one single goal, but you have to slow down this push. It's constantly one player from NRG escaping upfield with possession and winning a one-on-one or a one-on-two. Garrett's still in position. Back to Squishy. It's so difficult to stop Corelli.
It so is. You know why? Because you've got players chasing after it. Squishy landing. He'll just get a piece of Kami as well, and it will be Garrett G to put it home. The general up by 2.
Folks, I'm not going to lie to you. There's a lot of time on the clock, but we're going to need a 180 from Renegades. Both teams playing pretty good Rocket League, but the pressure is now on to make a response. How do you handle that pressure? Renegades writing their story so far this weekend. Now need a goal with a backflip to CJ. CJ right
That's
back, the
touch.
1-2. Wow! Finally, we get a response.
Look at the plays coming out from Renegades, and this is what I've been talking about, Spaceman. This is the threat of Renegades, and it's the offense that I expected throughout this series. This was perfectly on page with everyone else. Everyone was reading the same story, and everyone was involved from Renegades. They're fighting back here against the General, and maybe they just needed those first 2 games to warm up.
It almost feels like they had been trying for that single attempt the entire series. Finally, it does pay off, but they still have one more to go to get ourselves to a tie game. Kami working through the corner, back on the center, cut away by Justin, boom downfield, and Renegades will fall back on the defensive end yet again.
Oh my, what a touch there from Garrett. And Renegades really can't let another one in. Garrett will sneak it by. A little cheeky touch past the defense, and they're back up by 2.
I mean, you just can't forget about Garrett when he's pushed upfield. I don't care if it looks like he's rotating back into the play, going back for boost to midfield. You always have to account for someone from NRG to take a shot. Situations like that for Renegades just can't happen.
Now Renegades back on the back foot. Coming up on halftime, maybe one here off the crossbar. CJ will put it home, and boy, do we have another game.
Well, it keeps going back and forth yet again. One more goal for Renegades, and so far they have exploded into this game number 3. Backs against the wall in this series. But they've already scored more than they've scored in the past 2 games.
Yeah.
Can they keep it going? Maybe DHF has something to say for it.
I think they can. The offense looking better and better from Renegades. Again, this is what I expected from them. What we've seen so far from Renegades is out of character. This is the offense. They're this strong. They're this good. And right now, they're in a battle against NRG here in Game 3.
Take nothing away from both squads, both respectively #1 seeds in their own regions. Renegades have proven they deserve to be here. The talent speaks for itself. That booming clear will help slow down NRG on the assault.
And you can even see in that clear how far back NRG was. Everyone basically sitting on the goal line or inside the box. And you're kind of just falling into NRG's trap there because they're just waiting for you to give up the ball on their side. Here's Justin now, trying to make it work down the sideline as he's met by CJ. CJ squishy now into the air. He'll get a flip reset. Why not? No one's there to challenge. Now trying to land on it. He might put a shot on target. He will. And Renegades turn it away.
Garrett trying to get tricky through the corner. Here comes Justin with an extra attempt. Now we started to play a little bit of pop flies here. Squishy right back down to the dirt.
Same play.
One more pinch, and they're pulling a lot of defenders from Renegades up with the ball, but NRG continue to win those challenges. So you're losing boost on defense, you're losing positioning, and you're giving the ball right back.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I think you've seen 2 times in a row now Squishy's been faking the air dribble towards the net, and that's because nobody from Renegades is challenging. It's just Squishy's reading the play perfectly and saying, okay, if you're not going to challenge, I'll take it down and try to either control or pitch it. Garrett, shocked that that one got in for NRG. 1:07 left on the clock, and he just threw it downfield. The last man in Renegades, CJ not able to get there, and Renegades down by 2.
Occam's Razor probably says there was little boost, so that's what I'm going to go with, Corelli, because that is another goal for NRG that just can't go through. A backbreaker, if you will, so far in this series. With a minute to go, plenty of time, 60 seconds on the clock. Renegades need something, and they need it now.
A hat trick there for Garrett here in Game 3, trying to sweep Renegades here in this group. And it's the final 50 seconds, and they really do have to score here. Nobody's there as a good pop comes out from NRG. Another touch here from Fever. CJ waiting for this one to come out as Renegades trying to mount the pressure.
Fever was able to grab full boost into the corner, so NRG don't have a lot of resources to be able to clear this one away. You need to up the tempo and get the pressure right back on their shoulders. Renegades have plenty of time to get this one done to at least tie up this game, but they need quality shots, and they need them now. Center back out from the corner, right down on target, save!
Wow.
Garrett, Squishy, combining for a save, and Garrett gets back out with the ball.
And you really got to draw out the defenders from NRG because here they come back the other way. Squishy denied by Kami, and this is the opportunity. Renegades, they just got to score with time left on the clock, but it's going too fast. Renegades not able to catch back up, and NRG holding on.
It all came down to Garrett making a couple of huge plays downfield. The captain catapults his team into a 3-0 sweep against Renegades. Yet again, an impressive performance from the NRG.
7 goals out of the 12 scored by Garrett G here against Renegades. The ball finally hits the ground. GG's all around come out, and the General back to form.
Didn't really feel like NRG broke a sweat too much in that series, and maybe that is the best case scenario for the General, but for Renegades, a lot to learn from that loss, but a little bit of disappointment as well. It seemed like finally they were starting to get things going. It just came little too late.
Yeah, that's the perfect way to phrase it, because I mean, Game 3 was, I think, what I expected personally when you see Renegades on the paper, because look, this is a matchup that obviously in the fan vote we clearly saw that they were underdogs for. I think everyone can agree on that. But I don't think a 3-0 sweep is representative of how good Renegades is here against NRG.
I mean, they had essentially dead even on ball touches, a little bit more demos. The shots were about even, so Renegades were able to pick up the pace and really convert a lot of those open chances into more quality opportunities. But when it did come down to just clutching up on those backline plays, the General escaped upfield, and they found themselves 2-3 goals at a time thanks to Garrett. That's a backbreaker, man.
Oh, boy, was he amazing here. And a lot of credit needs to go over to Squishy as well. I mean, of course, Justin played great, but a lot of credit over to Squishy because he did a great job on the back line, especially as that third man, but then also acting as the first man as well in a couple instances that just allowed NRG to get out of rotation, kind of clean out the Renegade side, and then all of a sudden they're back on offense. So NRG, they looked a lot cleaner, and I think a lot more calm. I think they weren't very calm against Furia yesterday. Looked a lot better here against Renegades.
You know, it's funny. This is also the kind of matchup we would have expected from NRG if they played on normal Fridays, usually how they get into events where they just kind of get the motor running, and finally it seemed like the General was here to play. But for Renegades, look, they're not done yet. They still have some lives to give, but what is kind of one of the cruxes for them to turn it around to get themselves back kind of into this event?
Everything that you saw in Game 3 is exactly how they need to start the series, and I think a lot of that is Fever and CJ really getting involved on offense. That was what we were missing in the first bit or so. We saw a little bit of it in Game 1 from Fever. CJ took a little while to get going, so for Renegades, you really just got to get starting off on the right foot here in Game 1.
Yeah, it's only day number 2, only the first best of 5 for us, but for the General, another sigh of relief. They get themselves through that tough one. For the Renegades, you just got to keep it going, work on the small stuff in between, and hopefully come out better next time. Other than that, we're going to throw it to a commercial break. When we come back, then next best of 5 here on the B stream for the RLCS Winter Major. You don't want to miss it. See you guys in a minute.